We agreed to set up this procedure.
Okay, never mind.
Yeah.
Go ahead. It's okay.
To keep them happy. Okay, anything else? Any other? Crystal, please call the roll.
Robert Meek.
Yes.
Dan Roberts.
Yes.
David Thompson.
Yes.
Sam Tinsley.
Yes.
James Widener.
Yes.
Bob Parkhill.
Yes.
Ralph Gwynn.
Yes.
Ann Kimes.
Yes.
Jay Lawrence.
Yes.
Alan Manning.
Okay, motion carries. Ordinance is adopted. Okay, comments from the public? Yes,
James, I have one, and as we said, Pledge of Allegiance a while ago, I was struck by the fact that isn't it great that we can meet in America in meetings like this and not have to worry about guns outside or someone marching on us or someone with handguns. And I really appreciate that. Most of you, if not all of you, have two documents I'd like to call to your attention in front of you. You have a copy of a lease agreement with the county, basically effective March the 1st of 1997. I'd like to call your attention because I'm going to be talking about page 12. Page 12. You also have a copy of a letter to 4 citizens from Don Bishop, who is evidently the attorney, or was the attorney at least, for the North Arkansas Regional Medical Center. This letter is dated September the 28th, 2011. If you're sitting by somebody that has a copy of this, if you don't have a copy, I hope that you'll share this with each other. And I apologize for not having all of the copies of the lease agreement. I think I only have 12 or 13 copies. If you'll look at this letter from Don Bishop, look at the last sentence in the third or second paragraph. There are 3 paragraphs. Look at the last sentence of that second paragraph. 4 individuals who are named in the letter had filed about September the 7th of 2011 asking for some information from the hospital, North Arkansas Regional Medical Center. And basically, sad to say, the attorney tells those 4 people the hospital is not a governmental entity and is not subject to FOIA, Freedom of Information Act of Arkansas. All of you, I hope, know what that law means. It means that citizens have a right to expect, to ask for, and to expect certain information, certain documents from a governmental agency or a nonprofit agency if that agency meets certain criteria. Now, what does that agency have to meet? That agency has to be able to receive or has received public funds. North Arkansas Regional Medical Center Board has received some public funds over the years. That, quote, nonprofit agency also has to be intertwined with a governmental agency. And I would dare anybody to show an agency in this area that's more entwined with a governmental agency as the Quorum Court and the county, as is North Arkansas Regional Medical Center. And number 3, and these are all borne out by several Attorney General's opinions. Number 3, that agency has to be performing a public service, a service that is of interest to the public. And certainly North Arkansas Regional Medical Center Board is doing that. And so it's my contention that North Arkansas Regional Medical Center should have answered the questions asked by these 4 citizens. And there should not have been a letter like this that stated, and I'll reread it, the hospital is not a governmental entity and is not subject to FOIA. If this be true, then any of you as Quorum Court members if you filed an FOIA request with the hospital board, you would be basically told, it's none of your business. We don't have to answer your questions. That is very disturbing to me. I have to look at your lease agreement now on page 12. I have to give some accolades and some praise to the Quorum Court back when this was written, and whoever wrote this, whoever approved it. Look at number 21 on page 12. Thank goodness that the Quorum Court in those days put in that statement. That's a great statement. The only problem I have with that is I think the Quorum Court should have gone a step farther. And I think they should have said, I wish they would have said, that all activities of the North Arkansas Regional Medical Center, the board, will be under FOIA. And I would like to ask this evening, this board has an opportunity of working with the NARMC board and asking that board to come under all of its activities under the provisions of the Arkansas Freedom of Information Act. If you'll look down on page 11, number 23, you really have, there's a lot of interaction, a lot of intertwining with this Quorum Court, this county, and the NARMC. There's no question in my mind. I would not be here this evening if there was any question in my mind but what this board and its actions come under the state's FOIA. If you look at that, you have the privilege and the right to approve any board member nomination. You basically have a measure of control, number one. You also have a measure of control because almost every 6 months or every year, the board comes to this august table and asks you to, by ordinance, approve, as I understand it, bond issues, the money then that is loaned to the NARMC board and paid for by hospital revenue. So you really have a measure of control. This board itself, and the reason I'm here is to make you aware of this, if you're not already aware of it. This board, this Quorum Court, this body of people, elected representatives, could, I believe, and I don't know any other word, James, to use, except this board could mandate in some measure that the NARMC Board of Directors tailor itself to come under the FOIA. You as a board member, if you asked, as I mentioned a while ago, if you were to ask under FOIA, the board basically could tell you it's none of your business. And that's basically what happened to these 4 people here. And for some reason, that's just not right. When a county leases any of its facilities, any of its equipment, to anyone, to any board, to anybody, I think the general public has a right to know what's going on. Put yourself in a position of having a home, and you lease that home to me. And I've rented a lot of homes. I've been the lessee of a lot of homes. And you didn't some way provide for yourself that you could come into the property and inspect that property for you once in a while, then basically you've not made some good business decisions, I don't think. Or if I lease property to you, I'd want to have some provisions whereby I could walk onto that property and check it. And I think the same thing is true here with this Quorum Court. Granted, and compliments to the Quorum Court back in those days, there was written into this where there is a Board of Governors. And that Board of Governors helps oversee the functioning of the NARMC Board of Directors. But that doesn't go far enough. A common citizen like you or me or anyone back here in the audience would be told the hospital is not a governmental entity, and that's true. Not now. It's not a governmental entity, not now as it functions, and therefore is not subject to FOIA. But I want to underscore the fact that just because something is called a nonprofit doesn't mean that it's not under FOIA. If it meets those three criteria I told you about a while ago, borne out by several AG opinions, it does come under FOIA. And so I would ask you as a quorum court, each of you as members, to give some real careful thought to this. And put yourself in the place of any citizen, such as these people here, who ask for certain information from the hospital and they were turned down. Thank you very much.
Yes.
Just a couple more thoughts about the hospital situation. If you watched Fox News Sunday afternoon, you would have seen a special on Jefferson County, Alabama, and their bankruptcy. One of the largest bankruptcies of any municipal or county government in the history of the United States. They were on the hook for over $2 billion. Well, the way I understand it, the hospital, although it is now being leased and run by somebody else, a new corporation called North Arkansas Regional Medical Center Association, we are still on the hook for the bonds. Is that not correct?
No, that's not correct.
Okay, so we just, if they default on the bonds, then we lose the hospital.
We have been told that we have no liability whatsoever insofar as bonds are concerned.
Okay. My concern is in the report that they gave to you in the Quorum Court this last year, this patient census was down from the previous year. If you do any checking with the patient census at Mountain Home or over at St. John's in Berryville, you'll find that their patient census is up, I believe. And so ours is going down. Well, at some point in time, if the patient census continues to go down, we're going to be in trouble with this corporation that is leasing the county. And I don't know exactly where the tip point is in that teeter-totter, but it should be a concern to the court, should be a concern to all citizens in this county, because ultimately that's where our health care should be coming from. So I agree with Bill Ray that what needs to be done is we need to put some pressure on them to bring them under FOIA. The reason that this whole thing even came up was that there were some ex-employees who told us that they had been let go prior to the vote on the addition to the building, when the medical center was telling us if the addition was done, they would add X number of employees. Well, they did add X number of employees, but they also let go approximately X number of employees beforehand so that they could meet that. In other words, they weren't being quite honest with us. They did hire people, but they let old-timers go and hired some new ones that they didn't have as much expense in, they could pay less salaries, and they weren't really increasing their employee load that much. And one of the concerns with the citizens that found out about this, they wanted to find out exactly what the truth was. Were we sold a bill of goods as one of the reasons to do the bond issue and add to the building? And that's one of the things that precipitated this whole thing about